Is diabetes hereditary?
Uh, yes, it is. And you know, in getting diabetes, there's two sets of risk factors. The risk factors we cannot control is one, our heredity. So if one of our parents has diabetes, we're at an increased risk. If both of our parents have diabetes, we're at a greater risk. But there's also that opportunity that we might not get diabetes. Genetics also plays a role. As indigenous people, as Ongohunwe, and indigenous peoples in North America, New Zealand, Australia, the Pacific Islands, we're seeing that we're more prone to getting diabetes. They have some scientific theories around that, one of which is called the thrifty gene theory. And I think it relates to the fact that as indigenous people, we're closely related to our ancestors who lived at a time where they hunted and gathered their foods. And so they lived in times of feast and famine. So when food was plentiful, they ate a lot. The pancreas knew how to the amount of insulin to put out. When there was famine, the pancreas knew how to hold back the insulin. In this modern times, we don't have famine in our communities. We're eating lots. That doesn't mean we're eating healthy foods. I mean, we could be eating a lot of flour, high fat, high sugar kinds of foods, and that's not good for us. Those are the uncontrollable risk factors. But what we can control is our lifestyle. And the number one controllable risk factor for getting type 2 diabetes is obesity, carrying more weight than is healthy. And that comes from not eating healthy, which means the kind of food that we eat, how often we eat, and the quantity of food that we eat. It involves the amount of physical activity that we do or don't do, and also how we look at life and what our attitude is around dealing with stress, etc. Those three things contribute to obesity, and over a time period, carrying a lot of weight sets a person up for diabetes, which is why it's so important that we keep our children active, because obese children will become obese youth, and there's a greater likelihood they will become obese adults. And if that's the case, then they can begin to set themselves up for that problem. Now, once a person is diagnosed with diabetes, they have to manage and learn to take care of these things. Otherwise, there can be complications down the road.
Why is there such a heavy concentration of diabetes in Native communities?
I think that apart from those risk factors of genetics and heredity, that our lifestyles have changed so much in a short period of time, where our people were agricultural people and grew our own food, lived off the land more often, whether it's catching fish or hunting animals, gathering things like berries and greens, etc., being physically active all the time. That lifestyle's changed. It's changed because of the oppression of several hundred years. It's changed because of the economic system that we live in today. It's impacted by the series of events that have happened to our peoples over these many centuries, with loss of land, loss of language, the impact it's had on our culture, plus the events that have taken place.
We're at the end now, so do you have any closing comments?
Yes. You know, we come into this life with one journey, and we're given one body. And if we're able to live healthy, you know, more power to us. If we happen to get diabetes, in both cases, eating well, eating healthy, eating properly, putting daily physical activity into our lives, and walking our journey with a healthy attitude, with a positive attitude, with managing and controlling our stress levels is important. It's important for us to prevent diabetes, but it's also important, if we're living with it, to manage the diabetes.
I hope the community got a lot out of this interview today, and I'd like to thank you for coming on Walking My World and bringing light to this topic. Just one thing I wanted to add, if the community wanted to get information out, pick up pamphlets and stuff like that, is there a phone number where they can reach you to obtain information, or if they have any general questions about diabetes?
Yes, definitely. For information on diabetes, the best place to call is Cattery Memorial Hospital Center, 450-638-3930, and ask for Mary Cusino, the diabetes nurse. And for information on prevention and cooking and healthy lifestyles, etc., you can call KSDPP at 450-635-4374. And also remember, there's community services, the Ganawagi Youth Center, and other organizations in Ganawagi that are more than willing to give healthy lifestyle information to people.
Well, we've come to the end of another episode of Walk in My World. If you have any comments or questions, you can email me at walkinmyworld@yahoo.ca or catch me on Facebook. Ona.
More than 14% of all Canadians have a disability. For Aboriginal First Nation Canadians, there are 33% of people living with disabilities. People living with disabilities are subject to exclusion, poverty, and isolation. There are higher rates of depression, suicide, violence, and abuse for people with disabilities. We know that for Aboriginal Canadians with disabilities, all these rates and percentages are even higher. Statistics according to Independent Living Canada.
You're watching Kahnawage's Mohawk TV on Local Channel 4, local television covering all aspects of community life. Nyawagoa, Zewaderorege.